Welcome back, friends. So, learning about training effectiveness, we have up till now covered some 4 methods of evaluating the training effectiveness. We also learnt about some key practices that every organization must keep in mind while evaluating their training effectiveness. Now we are going to learn when to evaluate training effectiveness, that what are the times when we can evaluate the effectiveness of any training program. So, the first method or first timing can be before and after training. So, this is the best way to evaluate any change in learning, because it is through assessment of what you all know before training and what all has been learnt and what is your skills and competency level after the training. So, conduct a pre-test before and a post-test after your training and then compare the result. Now, this will help you identify what was your level before training and what level you have gained after training. So, using only a post-test without a pre-test can provide an assessment or skill or knowledge proficiency. So, whatever skills I am showing or exhibiting post training, and if you are measuring only the post training behaviors or learnings without knowing what was my level before training, will not give you a true picture. So, it might be possible that whatever I am exhibiting today, I was exhibiting pre-training also. So, how do you come to know that what all I am showing or what all behavior I am exhibiting is because of the training? So, it is very important that you conduct a pre-test as well as a post-test. Now, this allows you to know if learners achieved a certain level of knowledge or skill by the end of the training, or they already had the knowledge or skill at the start of the training, as I explained. So, the second timing can be during the training. So, build knowledge or skill assessment into the training like knowledge checks, quizzes or observations. So, this can provide evaluation data and reinforce learning at the same time. So, while I am imparting training to my team, I might give them some quiz in between. So, say after 2 hours, I will just give them a quiz to understand what all they have learned up till now. So, whatever I have been training them on, whatever the content of the training is, I will just ask quick questions to know whether they are getting what I am telling or not. And if I feel that they are not up to the mark, I can reinforce my learning. I can repeat those things which the trainees feel that they have not been able to catch up. So, this is during training how you measure its effectiveness. So, today we are having many e-learning or e-trainings. So, in an e-learning model also, you might have knowledge checks throughout the course to help reinforce learning. So, there can be some quizzes, online quizzes, e-quizzes, or some Google forms can be there, whereby you need to answer questions related to the training content. Those same knowledge checks give you data on how the learners progress during the course. And for an in-person training, that is in an offline mode, you might ask your learners the questions to assess their comprehension or use an activity to gauge how they apply what they are learning. This provides a real-time information for the instructor to reinforce content or adapt as needed. So, while I am providing my training, I get to know real time that how my trainees are responding, what is their level of understanding, and that will also help me improvise my content and adapt as per the responses of the trainees. The next timing can be immediately after training. So, in many situations, you might only be able to gather information from your learners immediately after the training ends. So, as soon as the training ends, you just try to gather information about their response, about their feedbacks. You can design your post-course evaluation to assess learning and predict the learning transfer immediately after the course ends. Because immediately after the course, the trainees are quite aware of the course that they have learnt, the things they have learned during the training. The next method can be delayed evaluation or follow-up. So, delayed evaluation, also called follow-up evaluation, is the best way to assess learning transfer. And this helps the trainers understand how much information learners have retained and if they have applied what they learned on the job. You can follow up with learners to assess learning transfer after they have had time to go back to their workplace and apply what they have learned. So, for example, I undertook some training, I came back to my workplace and now I am applying and implementing all that I had learnt during that training. And during this phase, my trainer asks me certain questions as to what I have learned and how I have been applying that knowledge or strategies into my daily routine, into my daily work, and how that has impacted my behavior or my skills or competency level, how it is affecting me to perform better. So, for some trainings, it might also be appropriate to follow up with learners' supervisors. So, for example, if I have undertaken a training program, I have returned back and maybe my supervisor observes that I am performing better, I am making less mistakes, I am saving on the time. So, my supervisor will vouch for me. He or she can state that yes, this training has been beneficial for him or her. So, the feedback is not being given by me directly, but it is given by my supervisor. So, next we are going to discuss about the benefits of evaluating training effectiveness. So, the first benefit, friends, is that it helps in identifying areas for improvement. So, when you assess a training program, you can determine whether it's producing the outcomes you want to see. So, every training has the basic goal of bringing about improvement in areas of concern, be it communication, be it certain other skills, technical skills, be it teamwork, be it decision making, or it can be any other competency or knowledge level. So, if you are evaluating the training effectiveness, you will get to know what all improvements have been made. Regularly evaluating your training programs helps you identify where the training might be falling short or not engaging learners. And by addressing these areas, employees will get more out of corporate training to improve their performance. So, when you know what are the loopholes, what are the gray areas, you can directly address those areas and you can improve upon their performance. The next benefit is keep learners and trainers accountable. So, when you evaluate the trainings, you are making them accountable. So, evaluations need to involve your training technology and the people who use it. So through an assessment builder, you can easily track employee training. So if I am giving training, I am a trainer, and whatever training I give to my people or my team, but there is nobody who is assessing what all training I am giving. So in that case, I am not accountable for any behavioral change in the people. But when you assess the effectiveness of training, I am accountable for the content of the training program. I am also accountable for the skills, knowledge, competence that I wish to give to my people. So managers can gain insights into employees' engagement with various training programs, administer surveys, and understand the ROI of training. And regular evaluations hold everyone accountable to the standard your company has set for training. So that is the main benefit of conducting or assessing your training effectiveness, that the trainers can be held accountable to the standards or the benchmarks that your company has set. Then the next benefit is that by evaluating training effectiveness, you can improve upon employee retention rate. So individualized quality development makes employees feel more rationally and emotionally committed to their jobs. And additionally, training helps employees feel more confident in their work by up-leveling their skill sets. So through training, the skill sets of the employees is increased, they feel more confident, they feel more attached to their organization, hence there is less absenteeism, there is less attrition and more employee retention. And in most cases, employees are more inclined to stay with the companies that invest in their learning and development. Improving retention rates means saving your company from high onboarding cost or hiring people, hiring new people. So it is always better to train and retain your people than to hire again and again, because that again involves lots of cost, time and effort. And another benefit is better training is equal to higher ROI. So already stated that investing in employee training can increase the profit margins, help organization predict future growth and even improve the stock market performance. And use regular evaluations to measure training effectiveness, refine training methods. It provides a better experience to learners and increases the ROI as a result. So as I said, that when you are evaluating or measuring your training effectiveness and you have chosen the right training methods, you are providing better experience to your people, and that will ultimately increase the return on investment. So friends, now we will learn about some recent trends in evaluating training effectiveness. So traditional means of training measurement doesn't cut it more. Analysis methodologies must catch up with proliferation of new and dynamic training technologies, including micro-learning, mobile, gamified learning and social learning. So these are some of the recent trends, because training also has been associated with technology. So after or during, we can say during the pandemic phase, since every organization moved from physical offices to work from home or work from anywhere, trainings also moved from boardrooms to online trainings. and there has been lots and lots of technology being involved through gamification, whereby you learn while playing. Then there are social learning, mobile apps. Every organization has its own mobile app for imparting training. So these analytical methodologies are also bringing in lots of innovation as far as training is concerned. So each of these methods needs a different evaluation approach, which is usually a mix of quantitative and qualitative metrics. So apart from methods such as attendance tracking, completion rates, and skill assessments, it is time to consider new and engaging solutions that shed light on the effectiveness of training programs. So gamification and mobile apps are these new and engaging solutions that are changing the scenario of how effectiveness can be measured or how effectiveness can be evaluated. So one such method is visual authentication of effectiveness. Now this measures training effectiveness through a visual confirmation of employees completing learned tasks in real life. So what is done in a visual authentication is that employees, they upload their videos, audios or their images as a proof of a task completed by harnessing learnings from training sessions. And such visual proofs, they help the managers gauge if training is successful and tailor future sessions accordingly. So whatever training you have undertaken, you just make a short video or an audio, or you can take a picture maybe while doing something or whatever you have learnt during the training, and then you can upload on the learning portal. And these visual proofs helps the manager or the supervisor or even the trainer to understand whether the training was successful or whether it needs to be improvised or customized for future sessions. So the next trend is measuring while doing. So new age tools such as micro learning platforms, these platforms actually empower to collect details on how employees engage with training content while continuing to work. So since micro learning is much more trackable and engaging for employees, companies are increasingly converting their elaborate training programs into bite-sized learning content. So you must be aware of micro learning. Micro learning is learning through short videos, and these videos can be less than 5 minutes, a 2-minute video or a 2-minute audio clip, whereby you just give certain strategies on any particular topic or content related to training. So companies are trying to convert their entire training content into bite-sized learning content because that is easier for the trainee to retain. It saves on time, it saves on money, and it saves on the energy of the trainer. So the next recent trend is the modern HR analytics platform. So friends, an MIT Sloan Management Review article, this states that 65% of organizations are effective at capturing data, but only 46% can actively secure insights from it. So which means that organizations do have data with them, but they do not actually are able to convert that data into insight or anything that helps them take decisions. So this method allows to find and measure the link between training and performance. So once the employee data is collected from various sources and stored in a centralized repository, the HR analytics, it helps generate actionable insights to measure training effectiveness. So collecting data is one thing, and being able to generate insights from that data is another. So what that article stated was that companies do collect data, but they are unable to convert that data into actionable insights, which means that you are just wasting your time in collecting the data, because unless you are able to understand the data and make necessary changes for future action, that means you are just wasting upon the time. So the next, we can say, trend is the feedback and survey. So while they may seem like most basic forms of evaluation, they are highly critical to determine the success of training program. So taking a feedback or conducting a survey has been the most traditional form of evaluating your training effectiveness, but still we would say that it is one of the most helpful and reliable methods, and the approach here is to collect real-time feedback to measure training effectiveness and make required changes to programs immediately without delays. So this is one method where you can still collect the real-time feedback from the trainees, you can measure the effectiveness, and on the basis of their feedback or the answers they have given through the survey, you can understand what all is lacking in your training, what have been the gray areas of your training, and then you can quickly bring about changes in your training program. So friends, in today's session, we learnt about the 4 main methods of assessing the training effectiveness. Because without assessing the effectiveness of your training programs, you are not being able to bring about changes, the desired changes that you wish, be it for the people or be it for the organization. Then we also learned that when we can conduct this evaluation program. Can we assess it before training and after training and then measure the difference, or we can measure it during the training, or we can measure immediately after the training has been conducted, and lastly we can also conduct it as a follow-up to see whether the trainee is applying or implementing what he or she has learned during the training session. Then we also learnt about some benefits of conducting training evaluation, because ultimately we want to bring about change in the employee's level of skills, knowledge, competence, and if that change is not brought about through your training, then the training is of no use. So by evaluating our training, we can assess time to time, and the best method is that while imparting training, you can assess then and there, and then you can make changes also, customize your training content then and there by assessing the training needs, by assessing the current level of your employees. Then we also learnt about some recent trends, because there is lots of technology coming into organizations, coming into all the functions of HR management, be it recruiting, selecting, and training being an important aspect of HR. So, through visual authentication, through feedbacks and surveys, through HR analytics, and even AI for that matter, artificial intelligence can also measure the effectiveness of your training programs. So, with that we come to the end of measuring training effectiveness. We will continue with other aspects of training and development in the subsequent lectures. Thank you.